Welcome to the Alive Society podcast, where ordinary is canceled and playing it safe is not on the menu. Life is calling. Are you answering? I'm your host, Levi Cully, and we're diving headfirst into the stories of trailblazers, risk takers, and go-getters who've mastered the art of living life loud, proud, and totally alive. This is your wake-up call, my friend. We're here to shake you out of the mundane, pull you out of autopilot, and ignite the fire in your soul to become the main character in your story. Because life is too short to sit on the sidelines. It's time to own your passion, chase your purpose, and reclaim your aliveness. Get ready to laugh, cry, and feel all the feels as we uncover the secrets to fearless living. This is more than a podcast, it's a movement. The Alive Society is your tribe, and together, we're creating lives that feel like an epic adventure. So buckle up, hit play, and let's get alive. Welcome to the Alive Society podcast, and let's make this life unforgettable.
That's right.
I've got my friend Travis Allred here with me today. Super excited for this. I've been talking to him about this ever since we met. But Travis, give us the lowdown. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, appreciate your persistence. Sometimes that's what it takes. So, no, love Levi. Yeah, I just love all things real estate, business. You know, my history is primarily in real estate for about 18 years now. And, you know, quick rundown, got into short sales foreclosures back in '06. Market crashed, kind of shifted to residential license and did that for a while. Ended up doing firefighting on the side, which was fun. Yeah, firefighter, paramedic down in Murray. Still kept doing real estate and
On the side. So you're kind of doing both.
Yeah.
But it was just the time when was that? What year was that?
That was about 2010 till I went for about 10 years and then I got out of it. And so we would work 2 days on and have 4 days off. So really, I was still working full-time in real estate, which was really good. So kept in it, kept learning, had some good development opportunities in 16, 17, kind of shifted, and I knew that that was the beginning of kind of exiting the fire service.
Uh-huh.
And then made that switch in 21. And, you know, and obviously 21 was crazy.
Yeah.
And in real estate. And that's when a lot of what I was doing, you know, I knew I wanted to build a team. I knew I wanted to work with other people. I mean, you can only do so much by yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so then it just made sense to start a brokerage.
Yeah.
And so got connected with Remax and built that and built this place out. We're actually in the office now and have been here for a year right next to Beehive Grill.
Cool.
And yeah, just love all of the different elements of real estate, new construction, land, multifamily development, and then just our bread and butter. It's residential, just helping people realize that and have the option to invest and enjoy what we do.
That's awesome. I love that. So when I met Travis, so you gotta like get into an 18-year-old's frame of mind. But when I met Travis for the first time, I was 18, running my epoxy floor coatings company.
Oh yeah.
And it's so funny because I hear your backstory. You were a firefighter, you were an agent, just starting out. And when I met you, you had just kind of like, I don't know, like seemed like this god to me because in the world that I was in, I was at a the Parade of Homes.
Parade of Homes, yeah.
And I paid for a booth to just be in a Parade of Homes home, and it happened to be your home, your actual house that your family lives in now. And you came through a couple times while I was sitting there trying to sell epoxy floors in your garage, and it was so funny. So I followed you on Instagram, and then all of a sudden when I got my license, here you were, the broker, and I was like, dude, I know you. I've been following you forever.
Cool.
So anyways, it was really cool, and it's just so cool. One really awesome part of it was that firefighters don't make very much money.
Yeah.
They don't. And
No.
so this house,
Yeah.
Travis has an impressive house up on the hill here in Cache Valley, and I love it. And when you walk in, the office off to the side is all decked out in firefighter stuff, and I'm like, this dude is not a firefighter. You can't tell me that. Like, I wouldn't believe you.
That was the only room my wife let me decorate. So
It was cool. It had like the helmet, the jacket,
yeah.
the boots, like all hung up like it looked cool. But anyways, that's awesome. How did you like have a mindset of growth, entrepreneurship, business as a firefighter? Because it's usually like so different.
that's a good question.
Because nobody else that you worked with, I'm assuming, was really in that world. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can correct me.
I don't know that anybody's ever asked that before. The first thing that pops into my mind, and it's just making this connection for me now, is the interesting part is now that I'm out of it, it's really evident that it's just a different world, right? You're around negativity, people's worst days, oftentimes, you know?
Oh,
And
dude.
probably the best answer for that for me was real estate was able to pull me back and ground me. Like they were enough of opposites that, you know, I'd go and I'd be around that for a couple days, but I'd also be doing real estate, and that would offset that negativity.
Yeah.
So it kept me in a space that I could tolerate that, you know, but I could see it, you know, and that's why I knew eventually I would come back to doing real estate full time, because that's a very difficult career to see all the way through longevity. Most of the guys that I know that I'm still close with, you know, have struggles with mental health and, you know, just because of that space.
The nature of it.
And being around real estate, I mean, you know, when you're around the right people, right frequency, things are just coming together, you know?
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of people, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but get into firefighting because they want more time at home.
Yeah.
And they see that schedule, like the 2 days on, 4 days off, as like their ticket to not worry about money and have all the time they need or want. No. And then the retirement that they promise just seems like the golden ticket. But I don't know. I've had some friends that have been firefighters and none of them really stick at it because like the people that they're usually around, I don't know, every department's probably different, but they end up being kind of hard to be around.
It's rough. And, you know, at its core, just some of the greatest guys, you know, they really are. And a lot of it is just perspective. And when you have those conversations with them about that perspective and they catch a glimpse of, you know, the positive mindset and just a different way of living, you can see those sparks. And, you know, a couple of the agents that we work with came out of the fire service because they wanted that shift and they knew that, you know, being around that negativity, and, you know, we need that. We need those people and those guys that are in that. I wish that there was a way that we could incorporate a little bit more of that mindset and optimism.
Out of every broker I've ever seen, you have the most training and mindset focused training and community around. Like as soon as I was hired, I was handed a book. I was handed like seminars. I was handed opportunities to go push myself and like emotionally. It's awesome. Even our, what was it? Our most recent annual like get together.
Yeah.
We had
a little retreat.
Our retreat. We had like a 2-day retreat with speakers, and dude, that was like life changing. It was awesome. It's not very often that you get hired for a company and they invest like ridiculous amounts into their team.
Yeah.
But I love that. Where'd you get that from?
I don't know. I I think that is what I have valued the most in my life. I've had a couple of, as I know you have had a couple of mentors that, just showed me that one-on-one time and that care. That's like, okay, if I have that opportunity, I want to pay that forward for one. The other thing is, and I'm realizing this too, is as I've looked in the fire service, in different jobs, even in sales jobs, right? I've known some of the best solar salespeople, or I mean, in anything that gets going, it's not about the skill level. It's not about even necessarily about the knowledge base. The best paramedics, yes. Did they have the right skill set? Yes. But what set them apart is their level of caring. And to me, that is a mindset of either you are transactional or you are authentic and relationship based. And so, especially in real estate, from a brokerage standpoint, we could throw a 2-day retreat and I could bring in like, hey, we're going to role play and we're going to talk about sales and, we're going to do the ninja program, which everybody talks about around here in Cache Valley. Sure, we can do all of those things. And if the individual doesn't have the right mindset on relationship, game over, in my opinion.
Yeah. I love that.
And so it's just seeing that and recognizing that you could have a brand new agent that just has this crazy ability to connect with people, and they will affect more lives. And in real estate, that can mean by way of buying and selling a home, a transaction. But if it starts with the relationship, they'll surpass everybody. And for me, that was my own shift. Because I remember, like I mentioned 16 and 17. That was really the shift for me, but it wasn't a shift. It's not like I all of a sudden had this massive amount of knowledge or all of a sudden took a sales class. It was a shift in my mindset, and there's 3 things that stand out to me, I think. And I've heard this advice in various ways, but for me, I realized it was okay to make mistakes. That I'm just going to go, and as long as my intent is good, I could mess up a conversation with you. Because I don't know. I'd be out talking to a landowner, and they'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And instead of trying to fumble through it, I'd be like,
Yeah, you're right.
You're right. And I bet you I'll find out. And that's what I can promise you, right? And all of a sudden, that authenticity of just not being afraid of making those mistakes, not being afraid of saying the wrong thing, or not knowing a piece of information, just allowed me to move forward. And then the second part is being able to take risks and, not being afraid to, well, I don't know all the details.
Getting caught up in like how.
I remember I had a list of, hey, I want to do this thing. And here's my list of things I don't know. And one of my mentors, I was kind of rattling off that list to him. He's like, stop. He's like, what I know is that you'll figure it out. I don't have the answers to any of those things. I don't know if you'll ever even get them, but you'll figure it out. And then the last thing is ask. And the best example I have of that is, and that one floors me, because it's just like, wait a minute, all I've got to do is ask. And everybody that I've ever talked to that knows if I ask them, they give me the answer.
Really?
I've never met somebody that's like in the know, that's like, oh no, I'm not going to tell you that.
Really? Like, seriously?
Seriously.
That's amazing.
And I don't know if that's the approach to it or, but that's how I've done everything. I mean, same with Remax. Here I am starting this brokerage, and it's like, well, I've got 100 other Remax brokers that I can call and be like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do this contract? How do I start this thing? And I'll seriously have people like, you called them? Yeah. Am I not supposed to?
Right.
Like yeah. But
That's
one
awesome.
of my early examples of that is I had a guy call me. He'd been trying to sell a duplex in Logan. And he's like, man, I've been through a few realtors, like nobody can sell this as a duplex. And I'm like, that's your best bang for your buck. Like we could sell this as a home, but this is a duplex.
Yeah.
And I bet we could get it grandfathered. He's like, no, I've been through these agents. And I'm like, oh man, those are pretty good agents.
Yeah.
You know, but I took it on and he's like, well, do you know how to grandfather? I'm like, no, I've actually never done that before.
Holy smokes.
And literally all I did, I walked into Logan City in the offices, little secretary sitting there. I just said, hey, I'm an agent. I want to learn about grandfathering. I've got this home. She's like, oh, you need to talk to this lady. Lady comes out. She's like, I tell her what home it is. She's like, oh yeah, we've talked to people. And she's like, look, I'll tell you what I tell everybody. You need to do this list. I'm like, just do the list? Okay. So I left.
That's awesome.
Took us 2 weeks to get through the list.
Yeah.
Went back in, paid the fee. Logan City grandfathered the duplex.
No way.
And then I list it as a duplex, and I get these calls from these other agents, and they're like, dude, what did you do? And I'm like,
What you didn't?
I went and asked Logan City.
Yeah.
That's it? Like, and they just told you what to do? And I'm like, yep.
I feel like that's the case with a lot of investors who are trying to like rezone or get grandfathered or try and figure out the Airbnb thing or, you know, because as an investor, you have to be creative, but there's like, I don't know, the barriers to entry aren't that hard.
Yeah.
It's just having the guts to like ask somebody who's done it or ask, you know, no one's going to get mad at you because you asked. I don't think that.
Somebody told me one time, you'll never be criticized from the top down. And as I've looked at that, most of the critical advice I get, I'm not asking for it. When it's given to me, and it's coming from that direction, it's critical.
Wow. That's really interesting. Because if you're talking to somebody theoretically above you on the, like they've done it before.
They've done it,
There's no way that they could criticize you because they've been you.
Yeah.
And there's two things that I think of. People love talking about themselves, especially their accomplishments.
Yeah.
And if they've spent so much dang time trying to figure something out like this, they're totally going to tell you.
Well, and there's a certain satisfaction. Really, everybody that I've met in that end of things sincerely wants to help other people. Like, that's why they're doing what they're doing. They're not, I mean, are there elements of self-gain? Yes, they're trying to provide for their family. They're trying to better their own life, and a byproduct of that is also helping other people, typically.
Yeah.
And that's been evident in the way people show up that way. Most of the time, they're excited. Yeah. Now, are they busy? Yes. But that's, and especially when there's sincerity on your end, right? Showing gratitude in that element. And not from an entitled position,
Right.
but I really want to know how to learn and grow in this. They'll give the answers and propel you a lot faster than you could just find it out on your own.
That's so cool. I want to change gears and ask you about something. So you said that you had a major mindset shift in 2017. And when I met you, you had, been an agent, didn't have a brokerage, but you were just kind of being an agent, probably doing some developments and stuff, obviously. But now you own like a lot of businesses and a ton of real estate, and you have a huge team. And the only thing that sets you apart, like there's a lot that sets you apart from people that I know that do this much of keep this much juggling.
Yeah.
But you're on a whole different level. And something I've noticed that you do is every time I try to schedule something you're like, talk to me Saturday or Sunday afternoon, because Sunday afternoon I schedule my life. And it's so funny because every Sunday afternoon I get a text. It's like, hey, when are we doing lunch, dinner, and this podcast? Well, at least this last Sunday. And it's like, tell me about that. Like, how do you keep all these balls in the air? And, well, to start, how many businesses do you have, and what's everything that you're involved in? Because it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, running through them really quick, it's been opportunistic, right? Like I didn't just... I at least I don't feel like I just woke up and said, hey, we're going to do all these things. But, we first got the brokerage going, and then we started doing a lot of investment deals. And we said, oh, man, we should do property management because we want to manage. A lot of our investors would say, well, can you manage our properties too? Yeah. So we started property management. Naturally, with listing homes, we started getting involved with staging. So we got into a lot of staging furniture and started that up. My wife is a physical therapist, so we started her a physical therapy clinic once we were kind of in that business world.
Yeah.
Pulled her out of corporate Intermountain, and
it's called Luna, right?
Yeah, Luna Physio.
Okay.
And so she's got a great staff there and does women's health, pelvic floor rehab.
Cool.
And then it was getting into investments. And so we started Crest Capital Partners that deals with our investment funds and, puts that money to work. And then as we started to develop more and we built these relationships, we wanted to get in with Corey coming in. Corey Brady, my partner, has a great background in new construction. So we picked up a GC and started doing spec homes so that we could provide that inventory and another mode to do investing.
So that's...
Oh, and then we've got the event center.
That's 8?
Something like that.
8 companies in 2-3 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so back to my question, how do you juggle that? Like, how do you get that? There are so many day-to-day things that only you can do. Like, is it delegation? Is it scheduling? Is it I work 24 hours a day?
I think it's the delegation and scheduling. Here's something interesting I thought about when you look back, Steve Jobs said, you can really only connect the dots looking backwards. You can't connect the dots looking forward.
Yeah.
And even when you were sharing the story about how we first met in the garage, it's interesting to me now, looking back, being able to connect those dots. And when you're clear on your vision and your why and those things, the how just happens. Simon Sinek teaches about that all the time.
Yeah.
And so when I look back and when I really connect the dots for me are people. They're just the right people.
Yeah.
Our event center, the Hive, I met those guys, Eli and Janae, in the Parade Homes as well.
Really?
We had a booth Remax booth in the Parade of Homes, and they came through. And I tease Eli about this. He was being grumpy. It was later at night, you know, and he had his wife and his daughter there, and we were doing drinks. And I'm like, "What? You're just gonna march out of here without getting your women a drink?" You know, and he smirked, you know, caught a little smile, and I'm like, you know, and we were able to connect, and it was instant.
Yeah.
You know, you felt that, like, when that energy and connection's there, it's like, okay, we need to go to dinner.
Yeah.
And so we went to dinner, and they ended up coming over. Right now, fast forward, and Eli's helped us start the property management. He's doing all of our real estate for our team right now. Janae started running the Hive. We hired her daughter-in-law, Becca, to run it, and Becca is our director for that now, and Janae is our executive assistant. So as you look back and put those pieces together, the right people allow for that. Is there still management? Is there still scheduling? And that's the thing that is the hardest, because you want, like, I want to, you know, go to lunch twice a week with you, and, you know, be able to go to dinner with you and Casey. And it's, as things get bigger and you add more, you just have to prioritize that a little more. And the only way to do that is to calendar. And, you know, I'm pretty meticulous with a list. And if I am, you know, I use Google Notes a lot. I use Google Docs. Okay. And if I'm running by and you shoot me a text like, "Hey, we need to do this podcast," if I'm going to commit to something, I write it down so it reminds me.
So is it a list, like a to-do list, or is it calendar?
It's both, but we run the calendar with everything. Like, if you saw my calendar, you'd be like, "Holy cow." Well, it's
everything going on.
It's everybody's it's Jason's, Janae's, mine, Corey's, Bree's, all my kids, right? And it's all there so I can see it all. But then I take that and I put it in a Google Doc, and that way I can break it out day to day, and I can make little comments like, text Levi to see when we're doing the podcast, or I promised this person 2 weeks ago that we'd hit a round of golf or we'd go to lunch. And when I follow back up, they're like, "Oh man, you're on it."
On top of it,
And to me, I'm just like, "Oh, I just made a note." And
which is so rare. Like,
it is.
People don't.
The follow-up.
Once you start to get busy, once, like, you have multiple things going on, like, legitimately somebody could call each one of your companies a full-time job and your position in it. But once you get to that point, I feel like personally for myself, it's like you start to get a little better at getting a lot done in a short period of time and staying focused. Focus is a huge thing. If I get pulled focus off what I'm doing, it takes 45 minutes to get back on.
Absolutely.
And like, oh, dude.
And you and I have talked before, it's being consistent in your processes. So when I decide that I'm not going to run my morning like I do, shoots my whole day. And so it's kind of a non-negotiable for me. Now, I can get sick or things can come up, right? Like, I just got a wrench thrown in mine because my daughter just made the high school drill team, and she has to be at the school at 6 a.m. And I'm like, well, that's great, because I'm already up. I wake up at 5 every morning. But it throws that off a little bit. So I just had to readjust, but I'm a time blocker. So I'm, you know, wake up at 5, drink of water, go do this, check the email, read scriptures. You know, now it's like, take Brielle to dance, come back, do these things. And it's just the consistency in that. And that's the time that just sets the day, because I can look at the day and say, what are my priorities today? And then here's the thing that I've added in the last year, and it's being open to the impressions. I think there has been times prior to this year, and this year my word is focus.
Yeah.
And I have seen that now the element of having God direct me and trusting that that's happening.
Yeah.
Well, if my answer is people, like I've said, and now a person comes into my life to give me an answer, and I'm just like, whoop, nope, you're not on my schedule.
Yeah.
Have to be really careful with that. And so that has been an element of, okay, what are my priorities today?
Yeah.
And I also want to be open and flexible that if things come up, I can make adjustments.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's like number one. Like, as a Christian believer, like, being open to impressions is okay. So you taught me this. The term, what did you call it?
A ping.
A ping.
Yeah.
A ping. Guys, this is huge. This is like ginormous. A ping. So like a ping is an impression. You can call it the spirit, the universe, your gut. Like, seriously, Travis is good about pings. Like, I've heard you, like, we have a lot of like meetings and seminars and whatnot where you can kind of talk about your pings, but like, that's what it is, dude. Dude, it is God telling you that, like,
It is.
if you want to do what you say you do in your little vision board and stuff, here's your ping.
Here's the
Talk
pings.
to this dude. Like, and sometimes it's obvious, like, yeah, I really should talk to this dude.
Yeah.
That would make complete sense. But sometimes it is like, dude, this makes no sense.
I love that you bring that up because it's funny. Corey and I talked about this lately. That's almost how I know it's real, is because I immediately start like, why would I call that person at 6 o'clock at night? I didn't tell them I was going to call or stop by this place. Like, man, I had one the other day that was like, hey, you need to stop in and say hi to this person. And it was like, okay, like, that's not convenient.
Awesome.
And the person doesn't know I'm coming.
Yeah.
And sometimes those conversations are exactly that. Like, hey, I was cruising by, got a ping to stop and say hi. And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah. Like, and you start uncovering and you start being curious about other people, and that's the connection. And before long, you're able to make that connection.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's a big part of it, and just being flexible for that, because I think it's an impossibility for me to methodically and exactly map out a day.
Yeah.
As diligent as I am with calendars, as I try to follow up with people, I just have to be open to what needs to be done.
That's such a good point. Like, you make an amazing point. Like, I am so OCD. Like, I am so OCD with my calendar, and I will sit and I keep my calendar open on my phone, and the red line goes from the top of the screen to the bottom on my Apple calendar, and all my tasks are there. And so as the red line moves down, I'm doing those calendars, and if I get close where it's like the red line's ending and I'm not done with this task, I start stressing. And then sometimes the red line's down past 3 items past what I did because somebody called.
Yeah.
Or somebody needed breakfast, and it makes me absolutely like the worst person to be around when I'm so stressed out. I'm like, I'm 3 things behind, and then I like splash out at people. So you make a lot of sense, and I've tried some things like blocking out open time, so that the ping can fill that.
Yeah.
And
Called the open seat.
Yeah. And then scheduling time with God. You mentioned reading your scriptures in the morning. Like, God rarely can fit in my life if I'm like huffing and puffing and going and stressed and
Yeah.
have 30 things in the air at once. Like there isn't room for God. He just can't, unless he like abruptly like ruins something and like like there's a car crash or something.
Yeah.
There's no time. Like, so I love that you intentionally make time for that. That's like
I'll share,
really hard to do, honestly.
if you don't mind, I'll share kind of an experience. I met a couple. I'm getting closer with them. I met them at a seminar. They ended up losing their little boy in a drowning.
Oh no. Oh yeah, in a pool?
Yeah.
Maybe I heard about him.
In any case, one of the things that they shared
Yeah.
really changed me in this sense. And this was about 6 months ago. And it was just them recounting a story that they had at his funeral or after the funeral, right? Everybody's at their home. The mom ended up finding herself in like the mudroom, kind of going through some of his stuff. And she could hear his promptings and she was responding like, yeah, like, what do you want me to do with this? Do you want me to save it? Do you want me to get rid of it? Yeah. And she recounts like she heard him say, man, you really hear me good. Dad doesn't, you know? And he's like, can you go tell Dad to listen? And I look at that and I look at what I know of the dad. And he is in it all, given all of himself, right? Like even in that funeral setting was making sure everybody else was okay, right? And he just needed to slow down for a minute. And I started looking at like how I pray. And I was just like, I'm doing the talking.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, I need to get this going. Here's the blessings that I'm seeking, and you know, and amen, right?
Yeah.
And I would never take the time like Dad's not listening. And so I'm like, in a curiosity sense, am I listening? Am I open to, like, here I am trying to build this, trying to help others, trying to support my family, do these things. Well, is that all getting in the way of just me listening for the answers?
The actual point of what's going on in life.
And so that
True.
That has been a big shift.
Wow, that's an amazing, like, it's something beautiful that comes out of something so ugly.